right, we're coming live from GoSec in Montreal, GoSec 2023. I'm Ellsworth Anthony. I'm the host of the GoSecure podcast called GoCast. And I'm here today with Guy Tremblay, who is works for Checkpoint.
Yep.
Guy, you want to just give us a sense of what you're doing at Checkpoint, what your role is there, and how you came about coming to Checkpoint, and what your goal is in your role.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ellsworth. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. Actually, it's a great honor. I'm very happy that we have this forum to be able to speak about things like that. So, at Checkpoint, what I do is I'm in charge of the cloud pillar. So Checkpoint is obviously a 30-year-old company that was founded on firewalls. We went into endpoint protection, and now we've got a very important pillar, which is the cloud, which is where the business is going. So what I do is I help clients secure the clouds from code to cloud. So that's an interesting. It's an interesting concept, because what it does is that what we do is we help organizations make sure that from the inception of code, when they actually start making applications until it actually runs into the cloud, that the full spectrum or the full pipeline is actually covered for security. So that's kind of what I do.
Okay.
And we promote this across Canada through our existing base of accounts, which is very large, and also brand new clients that are, because we have a lot of clients that are what we call cloud native, so they actually don't have any infrastructure.
Right.
So that's a very interesting place to be. Yeah.
Okay. So I actually had a particular question for you.
Yep.
And I wrote it down because I obviously can't remember all these things off by
course.
heart all the time.
Yep, many.
So are there any emerging trends or best practices in cloud security that businesses should be more aware of and incorporate into their their security posture?
Great question. So maybe I should start by saying, why the cloud, first of all? Understanding a little bit more about, why are organizations going through a digital transformation which uses the cloud? So if you look at business today, the evolution and innovation cycle is probably 7 times faster than it was 10 years ago. So when you want to put products into production, if you want to develop applications so that clients can take advantage of it, if you want to be competitive in any business that you are, you have to be able to innovate in creating new products and solutions for your clients, and for your clients to have access to it quickly, right? So the only way to do it as fast as you can is actually to have a transformation of your business from what it was previously, which was a little bit slower, and you have to go into the cloud, which is scalable and extremely fast.
Right.
So one big trend that we've seen is that we talk about DevOps, right? So you have developers now that through code are developing applications, going through something called a CI/CD pipeline, and creating applications that will be exploited or produced into the cloud. So one of the trends we're seeing is that we are able to do something called shifting left security. So specifically for security, it's not just about protecting your perimeter, but actually being able to see right away as developers are actually committing code as they are building applications, where we can actually see if there are any keys, any secrets, any misconfigurations that are part of the actual inception of the application. So that's super new, actually. Mm-hmm. Shifting left, meaning you are actually catching things right at the beginning before it actually reaches production. So that's kind of an emerging trend that we're seeing, and obviously Checkpoint is at the forefront of this. We have a product called Spectral that actually does something like that. We actually look at the code when it's committed. We integrate with all the repositories and things like that to make sure that it's clean.
Right.
So as it goes through the life cycle of development. Also, what you see is that there's a lot of organizations that have to comply to many frameworks. And unfortunately, if you're exploiting or if you're using more than one cloud, let's say if you're in Azure, GCP, and AWS, all three have like native tools, basic native tools, that can give you some sort of a visibility into your cloud, but it's kind of complex, and you have to have a lot of expertise in understanding those clouds. And what happens is that it's very difficult to have a unified view and see how your operation actually measures against either best practices or also against frameworks that you need to comply for. Let's say it could be NIST, all these kinds, yeah.
So it sounds like this would be applicable to a more of a mature, I would say, organization.
Good question.
Right?
Actually, that's kind of the perception,
Okay.
is that they should be in a mature way to be doing this, but actually I would counter to say a visibility tool, which we call CSPM, Cloud Security Posture Management, should be at the basis of what you're doing to make sure that you actually have visibility in deploying things,
right.
because the cloud is extremely dynamic. Even when you start, if you start something and you have no idea where it's going, you can get into trouble really fast.
Yeah.
So by having tools that actually give you visibility, like a CSPM, you actually ensure that you're compliant as you start your journey, as you start your operation, and as you go. So it's something that people really, really need to take a look at in a very big way. It's not new, but what is new is the fact that you can actually have a full platform that does everything, not just posture management and compliance, but actually one tool that actually is integrated all together that starts, as I said at the beginning,
right.
from code to production, or from code to cloud. So all of this together gives you a unified intelligence and all speaks to each other,
right.
and you can all see the picture of your environments, which is a very, very difficult task to do. You know?
Right.
But we're seeing an emerging trend where something called a CNAPP, which is Cloud Native Application Platform Protection, is actually coming into play. Gartner actually coined CNAPP about a year ago, and it's really an amalgamation of different solutions that are now in one platform, which gives you a real visibility, a real protection and prevention of any risks that you can have in the cloud.
So let me just add this component. So how would, because there's a big predominance on small business, right? Small, medium business. I would say like what? 80 to 90% of businesses out there are SMB businesses, right?
Yeah.
So how can something like this be applicable to their type of environment? Because a lot of these small businesses don't have enough resources, right? Don't have the manpower, or resources, but not only the technology. They're already struggling to keep up with what's going on already.
Yep.
But yet they want to embrace these new going cloud, right? Because it's still an ongoing, development with small business. But how can they be able to take advantage of something like this so that from the get-go, they're getting these type of technologies that safeguards their environment, and they don't have these struggles going into the cloud, right?
Yeah. Well, I love that question, and let me tell you why. What happens is that if you look at traditional security setups like firewalls and servers and all that stuff, it's physical and it's implementation and it's a lot of resources to have this installed so that you can get the value back, right? It's an exhaustive process. When you think of cloud is basically pointing an API or just subscribing to an account into, let's say, AWS, Azure, or GCP, and you're up and running. So from a resource standpoint, it's extremely light to be able to derive, it's immediate value, right? So we plug our solution into your environment, which is nothing. It takes 30 minutes, and you get the value right away. So from a resource standpoint, it actually helps when you don't have a lot of people, because the entire information is given to you. You don't have to have multiple teams actually trying to dig information and sift through data and all that stuff. It's all done for you.
Right.
So that's one. Second thing for SMB is that you need to understand that the cloud security solution is not like other solutions, which is from a price standpoint as well. You get a whole lot of value, and when you think about it, the price of acquisition of a solution for cloud for security is less than 1% of what they actually spend in the cloud. So in terms of subscriptions and things like that, so it's extremely attainable for smaller organizations to be able to have that level of security.
Right.
Also something else, which is these small organizations that are trying to do business with, let's say, larger organizations, they want to have clients, they want to have bigger clients. These bigger clients are going to ask for certain compliance in terms of be able to comply to sell them their product and solutions. A lot of people ask for SOC 2, NIST, PCI, all these things. And how can you prove, and how can you audit, and how can you automate these things? You can't. But with a solution like what we're talking about, it does it for them, for us, for not a lot of money.
Right.
So very attainable for SMB.
Okay. I'm good, because we get, obviously that question comes up a lot, and I think a lot of small businesses feel like these are not tools that are accessible to them, especially on a cost perspective. So it's good to know that by you giving that response that it is attainable and it is something that can be applicable to their type of setup. So listen, I know this is probably not your first go around at GoSec. I think you've been here a few times.
Absolutely.
And I know this is the first time we're doing a podcast live.
Great concept.
So I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with us. I'm sure we'll be talking again in the future, but thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. Thanks, Ellsworth.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Please hang up and try again.